Welcome. In this video, you will get an introduction to Angela McRobbie, the British sociologist, the most active, vibrant British sociologist and critical theorist. And the essay that we have in question is Postmodernism and Popular Culture. Let's go and learn about her. So, who is Angela McRobbie? Angela McRobbie is known as a British theorist. She is also known as a feminist and a commentator of contemporary times. That's the first point. Second thing is that she works on popular culture and contemporary media practices and feminism through conceptions of third person reflexive gaze. That is a word she uses, third person reflexive gaze. So ultimately you can see that her focus is obviously on popular culture, contemporary media practices, just like the Birmingham School of Social Sciences does, and feminism through third person reflexive gaze, that he doesn't get into the second person, that is her gender. So she's having a third person view, and she's influenced by Birmingham Social School of Social Sciences. As you know, the genesis of cultural studies started with Raymond Williams, and she has worked there. So ultimately, you can see the influences on her, and her other influences are, apart from Birmingham Social Sciences, Stuart Hall. She is also influenced by Marxism and feminism. And if you look at her research interest, she has an academic research spans over 4 decades, and she has published a lot of books, and her focus is in 6 areas. First one is she is focused in feminist theory from a third person's point of view, gender and the modern work economy, that is where the Marxism come into play. Then gender and popular culture, that is a essay that which we are going to discuss later. The global fashion industry, then new forms of labor in creative economy, that is the new startups and social enterprises. So ultimately you can see from her profile that she is a very active person, very much relevant, who reads current society with a critical eye. And if you look at her noted works, there are a lot. Her famous work came out in the year 2008, Aftermath of Feminism, and her latest work is Be Creative, Making a Living in the New Culture Industries. So these are the things you have to know about Angela McRobbie as a person. We will be discussing about postmodernism and pop culture, the summary of this essay written by Angela McRobbie. The most important points that you have to remember is that this essay is written celebrating postmodernism. Remember, it was given as a speech in 1984 and published as an article in 1986. So at that time, postmodernism was facing a lot of resistance. So she's written this essay supporting the concept postmodernism. She shows how popular culture has paved way for postmodernism, and more importantly, she speaks about the importance of visual images and how media has created them. Even when you're studying this in the 21st century, she has had a foresight to speak about that way back in 1984. She critiques both modernism and structuralism. Remember, postmodernism was emerging at that time, so ultimately still there was structuralism was at the height, and modernism practice was also there. So she is taking a critique on both these. She speaks about the importance of having multiple narratives. That is one of the features of postmodernism, inclusion of multiple narratives. And she critiques about the changing role of media. Media was undergoing a lot of change at that time. Media was turning into a kind of a soap and hiding reality. So all these things are discussed in this essay. As I said, she begins her essay not by defining postmodernism, rather she addresses some of the debates within postmodernism, and her priority is to address postmodernism in pop culture. So she starts by attacking structuralism. She says that structuralism has got only one scrutinizing gaze. It looks only on structures. Second thing is that what is structuralism? It is nothing but a new version of modernism that is still considered as canon. So if you look at both modernism and structuralism, they only treat the canonical works. Other works have no space in that. And then she speaks about why she supports postmodernism. She says only with postmodernism respectable social issues reappear on intellectual agenda. So she is a person concerned with social issues. So only postmodernism can address that. And another thing is that postmodernism is not concerned about purism. It mixes various genres, various cultural forms. It accommodates. And what is the role of mass media in postmodern England? She says that mass media in England has underwent a huge change during the Margaret Thatcher's period. And certain stereotypical representations started to come in. And media started to hide reality. And especially media started to dominate with certain images, the exploitation of images by mass media, their agenda setting, and the news hijacking are the negative sides of postmodernism. And that is the point I also said. It does not concerned with anything about reality. Mass media is, she says, more about soap. And in conclusion, she says that postmodernism has given voice to the writing of black women. Postmodernism can be treated like a new nihilism. She concludes her essay by saying that postmodernism appeals to a wider number of young people and what might be called new generation of intellectuals, often black, working class, is that they themselves are experiencing the enforced fragmentation of impermanent work and low career opportunity. So, in conclusion, she speaks about it is only because of postmodernism that many people got their voice, and that is why it is thriving.